If you train yourself to just look around and just observe, there's so much information that you will get from that.
People get so lost in the job that they're doing that they often miss clues and things which are going on around them.
Once you sort of made that decision to do that, that switch has gone in your head, you're going to see opportunities all over the place. My name is Jack Thomas, co-founder of The Fit Guide, which is the global standard of fitness excellence. Welcome to the 5-Star Fitness Podcast, which is all about bringing the very best from hospitality into the fitness industry so we can have better, more profitable businesses and importantly, impact more people. I'm joined today by Matt Lavender, who's co-founder of The Fit Guide. Welcome, Matt. And today we're digging deeper into this principle, this concept of mind the gap, which is really what separates the 5-star hotels and gyms and restaurants from the 4-star. And we're going deeper today into genuine interest. We talked in the last episode about how we can express genuine interest, but today is more about really observing the client and really making sure that, you know, this is delivered in the right way for them. So let's start off with, what do you teach the world's leading hospitality brands about observing the client?
Yeah, so I think, you know, really one of the purposes of genuine interest as a whole is to learn things about guests so that A, you can make them feel at home and welcome and break the ice and all of that, but that you can really start to use the information you've learned to provide a more elevated service, a more personalized service, the anticipatory service that we'll come on to. So asking questions is obvious because you can ask questions to get to know guests and learn about them and think, okay, well, based on that, what could I do for them? But there are other ways that you can really learn about guests, clients, their preferences, who they are, their habits, their mood, their personality. And observation is a key aspect of that. So I think what tends to happen in busy environments is people get so lost in the job that they're doing that they're very focused on one thing or another that they often miss clues and things which are going on around them. And so what I train hotel staff to do is to take time to be in the moment and really look around and observe guests for a number of reasons. A, through their body language, their expressions, things that they're doing, you might learn things about them that they haven't told you directly or you haven't learned through asking them questions. It might help you to identify potential issues before they get larger. You know, because often before somebody starts to really get annoyed about something, they'll give little signs, right? They'll huff and they'll puff, they'll look at their watch.
Thinking of a restaurant especially where it's like,
yeah, restaurants,
where's my food?
It's the best example. So it helps you to identify issues, and and also you'll be able to catch little things like little golden nuggets, little ideas that might help you to then provide anticipatory service. So I can give you some more specific examples, but you know, I know that this was one area that, you know, you needed a little bit of an explanation from my side. Does that kind of make sense to you? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it does absolutely. And I think this is really taking it to the next level, right? In gyms, I mean, we're not really seeing this much, I think, in the fitness industry. So this episode is definitely about really hitting that Ritz-Carlton level of service, right? Absolutely 5-star. Can you think of any like maybe specific examples in hospitality and perhaps how that might relate into the fitness industry and the kind of things we can do at gyms?
Yeah, so you mentioned restaurants, and I think that's quite useful. So I often say to restaurant staff, like, now and again, when you've got a couple of minutes just between serving dishes or taking orders, take a step back, position yourself somewhere where you can just see everybody in the dining room and just look around and just see what you notice. Because I notice it as a hotel inspector, because I sort of look around as well, and I'm looking for clues of things. Do you notice somebody looking at their watch a couple of times in a row? Why? Are they waiting for their food, or are they getting impatient? Can we do something about that? What about when someone takes the first bite of their food? What's the expression on their face? You can tell. That's going to give you a much better indicator of whether they like it than when you do your check back, for example. That first look, if they look surprised, or do they look a bit unsure?
And people do reveal a lot, don't they?
They do reveal a lot, yeah, exactly. And so there's that, where you're kind of looking for potential issues or anything that could need your attention. But then if you really want to take it to the next level, when we start to think about anticipatory service, you might notice somebody, I don't know, fiddling with, say, a button on their shirt that's loose or something, and then, we'll talk about anticipatory service later, but, is there something that we could do? Could we suggest, oh, by the way, we have a housekeeping department that would be happy to, sew your button on. So it's also catching golden nuggets that can be used for anticipatory service. So I suppose in the fitness environment, rather than the restaurant floor, it would be the training floor, and encouraging the coaches to really step back sometimes. Obviously, if they're doing their job, they're going around, personal attention to people, but just take a step back and just kind of take everything in and be in the moment and look for things that you could use to preempt potential issues or to provide excellent service.
Oh, 100%. When you said you wanted to talk about this particular topic, I was struggling to really see how we can make this relevant for the fitness industry. But now that you've talked about it, I can think of tons of examples. Right. I mean, if someone's in the queue, when they first arrive at the studio and the front desk member of staff sees they're becoming a little bit impatient, again, just, I'll be with you in a moment, something like that. Or even if a coach notices that, someone who's just arrived, they can go up and say, oh, sorry, it's a little bit busy at the moment, but, you here to join the class? Oh, great, my name's Jack. So just observing what's happening within the studio, maybe not necessarily on the studio floor, I think is huge.
Everywhere.
And then if they come early, again, are they feeling nervous? You can tell from their body language, really. Do they know anyone else in the studio? Are they even maybe not sure where to go? They're kind of looking around, and anyone on the team can go up to them and go, is there anything I can help you with? I'm Jack, I'll be taking the class. And of course, in the class, people are looking a little bit confused. They might not know where to go next. Absolutely. We talked in a previous episode about if the yoga mat's if you're not told where to go, you might be a little bit lost and a little bit confused. And if we can sort of pounce on these people and just even introduce ourselves and say, hey, is there anything we can help? I think it really is that opportunity to go above and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking, you're standing there and maybe you notice somebody at the locker, like, pressing button after button, trying to do it. Often what happens is if you actually took a step back, that's obvious what's going on there, but you just see staff members running around. They're not looking. They're not actually noticing these things. So it's about just taking a moment to see, is there something I could do for someone to help them? Is there anyone having an issue? Like you said, the body language expression, you can pretty quickly tell. If someone's sitting there in the waiting room, like biting their nails, looking like, a nervous wreck, I mean, that's someone to then maybe go and have a little chat with the coach. Say, look, I think they might need a little bit of extra attention. So sharing what you learn to your colleagues as well, and just trying to preempt possibilities. Yeah.
The more I learn from you about hospitality, the more I think of it as like the hospitality mindset. Because, and I do really think it can be taught for most people, right? Because I think this is like, it's kind of sort of this broad, almost sort of abstract concept. It's hard to sort of give too many specific examples. But if you train yourself to just look around and just observe and try and think about body language and, how people are looking, how they're standing, what they're actually doing, such as being on their phone. There's so much information that you will get from that. And I think once you sort of made that decision to do that, that switch has gone in your head, you're going to see opportunities all over the place, aren't you?
Yes, absolutely. And you're absolutely right. It's a sort of tweaking your way of doing things rather than walking around, running around like a headless chicken, just sort of dealing with anything as it pops up. It's actually taking a few moments, few beats to step back, observe your surroundings and stop and think, and this is where sort of being in the moment, probably people would call it mindfulness, but just taking that time. And I think people think, well, I haven't got time to like stand back and stop and take that moment. But if you've then got to deal with a guest complaint for 10 minutes later on because you didn't sort of nip it in the bud before it did, that's going to take longer. So just take those moments now and again to sort of step back and observe the surroundings and see what you see.
Absolutely. We talked previously about this idea of a service thermostat, and I think it links quite nicely into this idea of observation. Can you tell us a bit more about what that means and how to apply that?
Yeah, so I think the service thermostat is quite an interesting way of looking at things. So nobody likes to be too cold or too hot, right? But within that range, some people might prefer the temperature a little bit higher or lower at night. This is why a lot of couples have arguments over what temperature to put the thermostat on overnight. And I think it's the same with service, right? So nobody wants to have zero service, and probably nobody wants to have service that's so indiscreet that they're like knocking on your door at 5 o'clock to try and give you, 5 o'clock in the morning to give you a cup of tea in case you need it, or to brush your hair or something. That would be ridiculous. So most people like service within that sort of range, but some people like the service to be very hands-off, and some people do like to be quite pampered. And I think observation is, one of the key ways in which you can kind of learn about your guests or your clients and see what level of service they would like, and then tailor it accordingly. And share that information. In an ideal world, you might have a sort of scale, and you say, well, Mr. Lavender is a 7 out of 10 on the thermostat scale, and everybody knows what that means. They know how many questions you could ask them. You could do. I mean, this is something I'm trying to encourage hotels to do. I don't know if anyone's actually gone to that level where they actually give them a number on the service thermostat, but there's a couple of hotels I'm working with at the moment to create SOPs, and we are actually writing that into their SOPs.
Interesting. It reminds me of a review that I read of the world's first quote-unquote 6-star hotel or 7-star hotel. I think it was in Dubai, and the journalist wrote a review, and he said that everywhere he went, it was like, hello, sir, or perhaps his name, like, oh, hello, Jack, how are you? And, oh, I'm good, thank you. And they'd walk down the corridor, and he'd see someone else at the staff, oh, hello, sir, how are you? And like, everywhere he went, it was just, hello, how are you? And he just got sick of answering that question. Right. And it kind of links in back with our sort of genuine interest in asking questions, but it was, they could have sensed, I think, that maybe he doesn't want to be asked that anymore. And if they could share that amongst the team, or even just, oh, hello, sir, something like that, have a good day, without just having him to respond every single time. His thermostat was maybe lower than they'd anticipated. So, yeah, definitely. As a coach as well, we see this a lot. And we actually talk about it in terms of how much you coach someone. Some people love to be coached. They like their form and technique tweaked. They're high on the thermostat, and some are very low. They just kind of want to be left alone. They don't really want you sort of helping them. And so I think it's definitely applicable to coaches and instructors as well. Any final tips to observe, the people that come in your gym and help deliver them great service?
I think you touched on it earlier. It's about creating that mindset and that culture of real hospitality, and so giving people and empowering them to actually do that, to take a step back now and again and stand and observe and really notice what's going on around them and how the clients, the members are behaving, and then thinking of ways that they can provide that elevated service through what they've observed would be the biggest tip. So yeah, getting these ideas out to people right from day one, from when they start, and writing that into your processes, that you use observation as a skill to provide better service.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's really given me a new perspective on this idea, and given me some ideas for my gym as well. So thank you, Matthew. I think final tip from me really is, whether it's this topic or any of the other topics we talk about, this could make up a whole training session or a meeting, right? You could even share this episode with your team, talk about it within the next team meeting that you have, maybe get a couple of coaches and front desk staff to stand back a little bit and observe the gym discreetly and share a few ideas on who might need help, who feels comfortable, who feels nervous. I think introducing these ideas to your team and talking about them is really a great way to kind of get the team thinking about these things and making positive changes. Thank you, Matthew. That's been very enlightening. If you enjoyed this podcast, if you think we need to bring more elements from hospitality into the fitness industry, this is the perfect podcast for you. It's all about elevating fitness through hospitality. So do give this video a like, of course. Do subscribe, whether you're listening, whether you're watching, for more interviews and episodes like this. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.